All right. Well, hey everyone. Thanks for checking out the next episode of the Circus of Time Review podcast. Where this week we're going to be talking about the Hobbit Trilogy, everything that is the Hobbit Trilogy. And those of you who are watching live or want to chime in, just tweet me any questions or topics you want to go over. We'll get to those at the end if there are any. And then, so what we're going to do now is just want to introduce. Sorry, I'm getting feedback from my other. Getting feedback from the other thing I had on. So what we're going to do is introduce the two guests that I have right now. The first guest is basically been rocking out the A to Z show for the last few episodes, rocking everybody out. Also got his own movie reviews, doing the quickie reviews as well on his YouTube channel. So we have CP from Will I Like It Reviews. CP, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be on a show where I can just talk yes. about movies, not compete, exactly. Just talk.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you. There's not that nervous gut.
Yeah. I don't want to kill anybody. I just chatting. We could all be friendly.
Nice and relaxing. Yes, exactly. It's the way I want it. So I'm glad you feel that way. Next guy is coming from us from across the pond over in the UK. He's been doing this. He's on a team with his own YouTube team over there, and they'll be doing their own movie reviews, TV and game reviews. So we have Oscar from Heel Pictures. Oscar, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. And yeah, as CP said, it's good to be on a show where I don't have to worry about if I'm winning or not.
Yes. It's like, do I want to get to double-digit points today? Hopefully.
No, it's cool to talk about this stuff and movies and whatnot. So yeah, it should be a fun show.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I said last episode, I had my own few podcasts before I was talking to myself. So now I'm definitely excited to have other people to talk to and get some feedback from. So, CP, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, just more of the same. It's good. It's good to talk. You know, and we don't have to compete. We could all be smart together and,
exactly.
and help each other.
Or not together.
Or not, right?
Yeah, or not so smart.
We'll see what the viewers say, right? Depending on what the comments say. But yeah, so let's just go ahead and jump into it. Like I said, talking everything that's the Hobbit trilogy today. You know, Middle Earth has been around for over a decade now, either from the Lord of the Rings trilogy to the Hobbit trilogy. It just ended, well, I was talking with CP earlier, just ended recently when they released the extended editions in theaters, and they released the Battle of the Five Armies on the extended edition as last month. So now they're releasing the Blu-rays. So what I want to do is just kind of get you guys' quick initial thoughts on what you thought of the trilogy after you saw it. The good things, the bad things. We'll go into more detail of those as we go on. So CP, you go first.
I feel like if there's an audience for anything, there's never really too much. If I have a gripe, I mean, people complain that the Hobbit technically could be one movie, but all right, I don't, if you watch a television show, it's an 11-hour run, and a lot of it is filler. So basically, it's something comparable. If you're there to if you're with the group, then there's not much to really truly complain about. The one complaint I guess I'd have is just the way that they ended Smaug. They could have either cut us off before Smaug got out, or have that be the beginning of Five Armies, or have him. Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, no. I mean, I guess we're far enough along for those movies we can do spoilers.
The end of the Smaug battle could have been the end of Part 2. That was the only thing that I was just like, man, it's like an absolute cliffhanger. I mean, I get it. It's not like you're gonna win anybody over by not doing it. People are gonna go, so whatever. They gotta make their money.
I definitely get your point, and that is something we're going to go over with the extended editions, and also how they formatted these three movies. So yeah, no, definitely a good intro. Oscar, what did you think of the movies as well?
I've had a very odd relationship with the Hobbit trilogy, in terms of, like, I went into them not watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Wow.
I watched Fellowship first because I was like, I'm going to try to be all caught up with Middle Earth. I watched Fellowship. I was like, do I really want to watch like another 3 hours, like technically 6. I'm like, I'll just watch the films in the cinema as they come along because they're prequels. So I thought I don't need to catch up on it. So then I remember not necessarily enjoying the first Hobbit film, and then I enjoyed Desolation of Smaug. But last year, leading up to Battle of Five Armies, I watched them again on the extended editions, and I enjoyed them more. And then watching Battle of Five Armies, I liked it, but it is definitely there is a lot more style and substance in that film. And since then, I have watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so it's like been a bit more of a rounded experience. But I like the Hobbit trilogy. A bit more than Lord of the Rings, in my opinion, but that's because I don't. Because it's like I just watch them more separately in terms of comparing them each trilogy, which I find most people do sometimes. But no, I remember enjoying the Hobbit films. I'm one of these people who are like, it could have been 2 films. Like some people like it could have been 1. It could have been 2. Like I would have preferred the original plan, which was what Peter Jackson was originally going to be doing. Then he went through a weird phase where he was like, I'm going to do 3 films and I'm going to do 48 frames per second. He went through an odd phase. Maybe he was smoking something from Gandalf gave him, I don't know. But no, I'm one of these people who do think like if we kind of had it like they would have been a bit more consistent films rather than all the talk of one film and a bit of the talk and a bit of the action in the second film, then all the action in the last film. So that's my general thoughts on the Hobbit trilogy and whatnot.
Yeah, and I was going to wait till a little bit later to get into it, but we can get into it now. I was talking about, their decision to go from 2 to 3 movies. Obviously we've seen it happen with the Hunger Games, just did it, and didn't really turn out so well for them. Kind of, all the, not attention, but the hype kind of dies down when you have such a big cliffhanger from Desolation of Smaug to jumping right into the action from the third one. People are like a whole year removed. So let's just get into that. Let's go back to CP. You start talking about your thoughts on them breaking it up. What do you think that 2 should have been good and where should have been cut off, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not exactly complaining because in the end, you're going to watch all 3. If you're watching the second one and, you're done, that could be the strangest thing I've ever heard. We're going to, if you're watching them, you're going to watch all of them. So, I guess they kind of take that for granted. But, I feel like something, especially like you said with the Hunger Games, only in the last 5 or 10 years, there's the intro conflict resolution, the way a film should be, is totally being abandoned in series. And I feel like that's not fair. They're still movies. You should still present a movie as a movie, not, oh, here's the second part. It should still be a film within itself. Godfather 2 manages to do it. Shit, The Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy, manages to have little separate stories within the trilogy itself. The Hobbit, if anything, it just exploits this cliffhanger thing, and it's like Oscar just said. It's talky in one part, it's kind of mixy in another, and then it's all action in the last part. Where if you made that 2 movies, you can kind of rearrange it. I honestly, one film. I get the book was short. I have no knowledge of the book, but I feel like it would be really, really packed tight if it were one film. 2 films, I could imagine it, but just if it's going to be 2 parts, make sure you're still telling a story. I get it. There could be parts, but don't not have an ending. That's not a movie. That's a half of a weekend special on TV.
Yeah, you're right. And like you're saying, to leave on such a huge cliffhanger, it's not presenting the story. It's starting to do the first, middle, end, but breaking it into 3 movies that way, it's extending it too long. It's not going to work. I actually just did the audiobook of The Hobbit not too long ago, and hearing it in your head as they're saying, you hear the storylines that are in the movie as the ones that aren't, and the book just shoots right through it, and you can easily see all the fluff that they added in between all the actual points in the book, where you're like, man, they could have easily cut this down to 2 movies. if they hadn't added like maybe 3 chases from the 3 dwarf chases or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to come out. It's like when I first saw Desolation of Smaug, I was a fan of a cliffhanger because I'm a sucker for a good cliffhanger. But when I did see the beginning of Battle of Five Armies, I was like, oh, okay, so it was the beginning of the film that we left on a cliffhanger too.
Yeah. Meanwhile.
Meanwhile. It's like, but back to the last film.
Last time on The Hobbit.
Last time on The Hobbit, you missed it out. I don't know why I imagine Ian McKellen narrating that bit, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it would have been cool if they were they set up like a cliffhanger for the rest of the film. Like, I mean, An Unexpected Journey kind of did that with when it showed Smaug's eye open, and then it ended, which in theory doesn't kind of make sense because he didn't wake up until Bilbo got to him anyway. But I mean, that was still a cliffhanger for the rest of the film. It wasn't like, here's a cliffhanger for the beginning of the next film. It was a cliffhanger to set up the rest of the film, where the Smaug one was literally like, here's a cliffhanger to prepare for the first the opening before the credits even pop up. It's like if James Bond left on a cliffhanger to the next opening, and then that's it. Like if like Skyfall was a cliffhanger to the Day of the Dead Festival, and then that was the only cliffhanger. That's basically kind of what Smaug kind of did in that sense. And I mean, I loved Cumberbatch as Smaug, so I was like, oh, what's going to happen? And then I was kind of disappointed where I was like, oh, that's all we had from Smaug? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree because seeing the ending of Desolation of Smaug and getting that quick cliffhanger, just like, and then only seeing the demise come only like 5 minutes into Battle of Five Armies.
Right.
You're like, well, why couldn't this have been the very end of Desolation? And because there's already enough action in Battle of Five Armies, so it's not like they need to start out that way. Yeah,
they're like nearly. Well, I mean, Battle of Five Armies was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. You couldn't have cut like 5 minutes out of that and made like 2 hours 15 or whatever.
It's the shortest of all 3. I mean, I get maybe they want to add some length, but the movies are already at 2.5 hours. They don't need to be 2 hours and 37 minutes or something.
Or even if you just in Smaug have Smaug end with the gold cracking and have that be the end, and then everything after that just punch that onto the beginning of Five Armies, and you kind of spread it out a little bit, and at least Smaug doesn't feel so like mishmashed and so heavy in the second one. And I don't know.
It would have been a good if this was like a mini series, it would have been a good episode cliffhanger to be like, oh, what's happening on the next episode, and then the entirety of literally the desolation of Smaug, which was. Yeah, and then like would have been an episode that would have made sense, but no, it's literally the entire thing, like the beginning or whatnot.
And then 12 months later instead of a week later to find out what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But aside from that, it's like I will throw in a bit of a positive with the Hobbit trilogy, because so far I feel like I'm bagging on it a tad bit. I do think they do a good job of having that like a nice winter vibe to it. In all honesty, like it's like that's like because I literally back to back the extended versions of the first 2 Hobbit films last year to prepare for Battle of Five Armies, and of course I was watching it was December time, and just something about it had that nice winter like whimsy to it, I felt, which is a strong point I do think these films have to them.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. One thing that I definitely wouldn't want. We don't want to bash these movies completely. We're fans.
No.
They're good films. Yeah, they're good films. There's things that we have nitpicked.
They have their problems.
Yes, definitely they have their problems. But yeah, one of the things that I really did like about it is like even though they weren't just like Lord of the Rings, which is, an unfair comparison, they did have the Middle Earth feel that I really enjoyed. Even from Bag End, the Shire, going through Rivendell, all those different places felt the same as they were in Lord of the Rings. So I really felt that, and the music, of course, set the atmosphere. So aside from some story points, it looked and sounded great. So that really kept my attention. It kept me from completely wanting to bash it.
Right, and to piggyback what Oscar was saying, I hope I don't sound the same either. If anything, I feel like the Hobbit trilogy is a bit smoother. It's a bit easier to get into. There's not so much, like, if you want to watch Lord of the Rings, like that's a meal. You're gonna have to get ready to kill some time. The Hobbit, I feel like you can kind of get in and get out of, and not really. I don't know. It's not as laborious as a Lord of the Rings sitting would be.
Yeah, they're a lot more of an easier watch.
Yes.
I couldn't do, like, people have these marathons of Lord of the Rings where they watch them all day. I couldn't do that. Right. I do them one a day if that's the case. I'm like, okay, Fellowship's done. Let me have a break before we get into the Bald Deep, for goodness sake. But with the Hobbit, it kind of just has it. It feels a lot more like, Lord of the Rings. If I had to think of one word to describe that trilogy, it's epic. Yeah. I don't necessarily think of one word for the Hobbit trilogy, but it's more of a steady pace with some exciting bits to it. You can definitely tell that was based off a children's novel as opposed to Lord of the Rings. Like, it does have that nice, like, quality to it, I think, which I do think makes for an easier watch.
Yeah. It's that medicine that you can take by the spoon. It's not.
It's not the injection that you have to prepare yourself for or anything.
Right. It's kind of sweet. You enjoy it. It's like, oh, all right. Well, I guess if I have to, I'll do this.
Yeah. I do think the Hobbit films are unfairly bashed, though. You know, like, in terms of like people complain saying these are the equivalent of the Star Wars prequels. And I'm like, well, calm down.
I've never heard that. That's
not quite there yet.
Haven't you heard that? It's like I've heard that from people. They're just as bad as the Star Wars prequels. I'm like, so who was Jar Jar in this Hobbit trilogy?
That is a stretch.
Oh yeah, that's why I think it's like, because me personally, I don't know what you think. I think like Bilbo is a much better character than Frodo ever was. I think Bilbo just had more to him than Frodo did. I think the relationship between Bilbo and Thorin, who I think is who's a great character, is a much better relationship than really any others from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm not sure if anyone thinks that way, but I got more of a brotherhood vibe from those two than I did from any other from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Again, I'm not sure if that's because I don't necessarily have an attachment to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because I didn't watch them when they came out. I was like about 6 when Fellowship came out, so I wasn't necessarily clamping on that. I was more up to date with the Hobbit trilogy, but I just felt more of a brotherhood vibe from the dwarfs than I did from, like, the hobbits necessarily.
I can agree with you because Frodo and Sam, they're definitely a good duo, but it seemed like that Sam was the hero in the end, basically.
Yes.
He was pushing Frodo the whole way, whereas Bilbo, he's coming into his own, not necessarily somebody pushing him, but the situation's pushing him further and becoming more of a confident hobbit, or being confident in fighting and doing things like that. So and of course Martin Freeman's mannerisms as Bilbo really helped out with him coming through with his relationships with Thorin and the other dwarves and other characters.
Yeah, no, I never thought of that. That's a really interesting. I see, now I want to watch all of them and compare them. I've never thought of that, but now that I've heard you say it, it does make a little bit of sense. I've never thought of that, but plus I think the fact that the Hobbit moves the way it does, they're kind of thrown in to that relationship, whether it be on purpose or not. The way the story moves kind of helps speed that up.
Did you just blow your mind? Your mind's exploding right now.
I'm going to have to go kill another 15 hours tomorrow.
While you simmer on that one, we'll kind of just get a little bit further into some of the things we're talking about. Just kind of staying in regards to the extended editions I want to talk about. You guys talked about that you've seen them. I would say the most beneficial extended edition was the Battle of the Five Armies, where obviously everything was paying off that they were setting up for the first two. Some things that we just didn't see in the theatrical versions of Battle of the Five Armies were revealed in the extended editions.
Okay.
My personal, and you guys have not seen it, is that right? The last one?
I haven't seen Battle of the Five Armies.
Okay, well, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys or anybody who hasn't seen it yet because it just came out. But there are major plot points in Battle of the Five Armies that were left out in the theatrical version. But they put in for the extended edition for obviously they want people to come back and watch the extended, and they want people to buy the Blu-rays, the extended second edition Blu-rays for that as well. But my argument is extended editions were just for scenes that weren't just for time purposes. Time purposes didn't make the movie or didn't push it along, or maybe just didn't fit right. But I don't remember a lot of extended editions just completely leaving out plot points just so they can put them in later. Do you guys remember, or what do you think about that?
I remember the first thought I had when walking out of Battle of Five Armies. I remember thinking to myself, I feel like I need to watch the extended edition to get what I wanted, which I walked away thinking like, oh, well, at least I know I probably get some more stuff out of. But I also walked away annoyed because I was like, why wasn't it in the theatrical edition? Why didn't I get that now? Like, I'm not sure what it's like in the extended edition, but Luke Evans' character, I forgot his character's name, but in the Battle of Five Armies, he just kind of disappears. Like, the last scene I remember him being in was just kind of a throwaway, and then I was like, wait, what happened to him? And then I'm like, do I have to buy the extended edition for that? So I will probably I will get that because I am curious to see what they've put in there, because I did like the film, but I was literally just like, I know there's something more to this. I know there is.
And that's my argument. It's like, well, yes, it works. Obviously they're bringing more people in, but it's like they're already giving. It's like EA coming out of Battlefront. You're giving us a half of a game, a half of a movie, in order to pay to get more, just to get the completed movie or completing.
Yeah. It's ultimate business bait. It really is. It's kind of, it takes the art out of their points when you think about it like that. When it's like, I have to buy your 2-disc Blu-ray just to see what I wanted to see when I paid like £10 in the cinema to see what I wanted to see. Come on.
Exactly. CP, what do you think? What do you think of extended editions?
Again, I kind of get my eyes open a little bit. I would think, what they're trying, by doing it that way, they're trying to get a casual fan in, and maybe give you a little bit of a Cliff's Notes. And if you want more of the story, you can get the Blu-ray, which I guess, I can see both sides of the argument. If I want more, at least it's there. This is like the only trilogy. Peter Jackson appears to be the only guy who is willing to give so much more of. If I shot it here, you can have it, but we're going to put it on this, and you're going to pay a little bit extra, and I'll save this, and then next time I'll do something else. Sure, he capitalizes on it, but I don't know how much I would pay to have all the dailies of the most recent Fantastic Four movie, just to know. So it's the ability to the ability to have it is. I guess it's worth it, but you don't have to pay for it. But I could get the other side where that's not the whole story.
It's tough. It is, because it's business and art colliding. You're like,
right. I can genuinely see both sides, and I don't have a problem with paying extra. But it's like you said, if it's major plot points, that's really frustrating.
Yeah, because you only get closure in these extended editions. You have to see them to get closure.
Yeah, right. I think the extended edition should be there for for people who liked the theatrical edition to be like, "Ooh, I want to see more," not "I want to see the finished film."
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't be like the extended editions should be there to be like, "Oh, I wonder what else they shot that they cut out," because they're like, maybe the casual fan wouldn't be that into this.
Right.
Whereas with Battle of Five Armies, it's like I remember feeling, no, I feel like I have to pay like 15 quid for like the finished thing. I enjoyed the film, but I felt like I needed to pay more money to find out.
DLC at this point for.
Yeah. I need to wait a full year because the extended editions come out way after the normal editions come out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's another small cliffhanger, but in a different way.
Yeah. They should. You know what? You should if you either buy a ticket or if you buy the regular Blu-ray, they should give you some sort of thing where when the footage is available, you can here's the code for a digital copy. Here's a code for the rest of the footage if you want to see it.
That's a real good idea, actually, because that's like basically being a fan club. Like you've made your purchase, you've shown, hey, I'm committed. Let me get a little bit off. Maybe it'll be like a couple dollars off or something like that.
Yeah.
Anything helps.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Yeah, maybe not a movie ticket. Maybe if you buy the regular Blu-ray or something, because I don't know, movies they have to trim for so many stupid different reasons.
Oh, it's that's just a big old topic in itself. That is.
Right.
Just,
But Peter Jackson doesn't know how to trim a movie to save his life. So.
Oh no! He's not good in the editing room.
No. There's no cuts. It's all.
There's no cuts. It's all one shot. It's all one take. A big old 3-hour take.
Well, since we're kind of talking about Peter Jackson, let's just dive right into what we were talking about before. He recently talked about, there is some backlash. Obviously, we're talking about backlash from the trilogy, some Lord of the Rings fans, and they're wondering why the quality in some areas didn't match up to Lord of the Rings. Well, Peter Jackson basically came out and said, I was basically winging it through most of this trilogy, or at least the last part of it, due to Guillermo del Toro. He was doing the pre-production for about a year and a half or so leading up to it, and then had to leave. So they just like, well, Peter Jackson did Lord of the Rings, just bring him back in, but he didn't get to wind the clock back, so he basically had to start from where they were at and go from there. So I think that definitely had an effect on the quality, but I don't know. I still don't think it's an excuse, even though they had deadlines to meet. I don't know. What did you guys think of that?
I can definitely see what he means when he says he winged it. In terms of some moments didn't feel like they were fleshed out enough. Like there were some moments which I was like, it would have been great if you took your time with that. But it did literally just feel like someone being like, do you know what? It would be good if we just do this. I don't know exactly what we can do. Let's just get this bit done and let's get to the cool sword bits and then. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see what he's on about in terms of he winged it, and moments like this is when I do think to myself, I wonder if that would have been fixed if Guillermo would have stayed on.
And did you guys hear that news? You know why he left? I didn't look into it too much. I don't know what movie he may left for. Maybe what was the robot one? Pacific Rim, maybe. But
he left for that.
I didn't know he left for anything. I just assumed he got dropped out. Yeah, I just assumed he got booed off. Because that seems what's been happening to the dude so far. He just keeps getting booed off stuff. So
he's attached to every movie in production right now.
Yeah, it's like his IMDb is like his in development list is bigger than his actual filmography. So I just assumed he got booed off. But if he left for Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I haven't seen Pacific Rim yet, but I mean, really,
it's not worth leaving the Hobbit for.
It's not worth leaving a Middle Earth name. It's like
right. I see. I just spoke about it before. Fantastic Four. They're having the worst time with Gambit right now.
Yeah.
And did they lose the director again? Another one?
Do they even have one right now? I thought as of right now they don't have one.
I think Channing Tatum's still searching for one. I don't know.
Somebody direct me,
guys.
So
Hey,
I guess
Uber Bowl's free.
I guess I again here I'll play the opposite end here. If this is rushed work, then there's no excuse for movies like Fantastic Four. Anything that Fox has screwed up as far as Marvel property is concerned. If that's, I mean, Peter Jackson rushing is still really, really good as far as I'm concerned.
It's still like a B+ film at
right.
the lowest. It's
right.
not. It's like if he's like, I winged it. It's like, well, you did a pretty decent job of winging something. I've directed stuff and I know what winging it's like, and it doesn't turn out like The Hobbit.
Right. Exactly.
That's me working on something.
And if I wing it, I have too little footage. I don't have fucking years of footage. This guy
I don't have. Here's the extended Blu-rays on my winged it.
Oh, I was winging it. I just have 50 hours worth of stuff here.
Well, that's the thing too. Is like he was winging it, and people are complaining because they're comparing to Lord of the Rings and the practical effects. I guess is what it comes down to. Is people were complaining about too much CGI, and now we're kind of realizing they had to use the CGI because they didn't have time to build out, thousands or hundreds of orc costumes, or for every battle they just had to do CGI, which 10 years ago now is supposed to be better, but somehow it looks worse. So I don't know. That was my complaint too.
Yeah, that's again, if time is of the issue, then would you rather have the movies or not? I mean, I guess if that's what it comes down to,
I'd rather wait.
Really?
I rather wait for them to get it right rather than let's get the time. We run out of time, Peter. We need to get it sorted out. I'd rather wait to have a good vision that Peter Jackson doesn't feel like he has to say he winged it. I'd rather wait. I'd rather wait to have a project that everyone's happy with rather than get it now and everyone be so-so.
Do we know the reason he rushed?
I don't know what they had a hard release date that they're trying to make, or if they had to make the movies in a certain time to keep movie rights or something like that.
Oh.
Okay. Movie rights.
I'm not sure why they had to rush it if they couldn't push it back a year to give him time to do.
Right. Usually it's like scheduling or something that they're signed up. It can't be Peter Jackson because he went ahead and made all of them. Yeah, it's funny if we know the exact reason. I mean, it's like Oscar just said. If they can wait, then just take your time. And going back to what you said about the Star Wars prequels, this rush is better than planned Star Wars prequels. So imagine. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, like, we got like a film back to back. And for 3 years, and when the first trailer for the first Hobbit film came out, it was then announced that they're splitting them into 3 films. And it's like, in all honesty, that does sound like a huge nightmare if you think about it. It sounds like a huge nightmare. It sounds like something that should have turned out like 2015's Fantastic Four. It should have turned out like that, but it really didn't. Yeah, there were moments which it was like, that looks kind of lazy with the CG, and I kind of wish they had a bit more time to, like, because I mean, such as like in the Battle of Five Armies, I remember picking out like when some, I think it was like the elves were marching, you could see duplicates of elves with like simultaneously moving their like giant spears at the same time.
Yeah, it was like waves of them actually. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was like the elf wave, just whoa, and then it's like moments like that. I'm thinking to myself, that would have looked a lot more epic if it was just like so many dudes in like these gold armor suits and all this stuff, which they did that in The Lord of the Rings, and they could have done that with this. I'm not sure if it was like maybe they also had like actors signed on and they couldn't wait too long or whatever. I don't know. That might have also been an issue.
But the funny thing is, CG, that's that's a guy at a computer, you would think.
Yeah.
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 I think the like overalls is the timing there, because even you watch like the documentaries or the behind the scenes. I mean, Peter Jackson, he started out, he lost a lot of weight when he first started, and you just see the stress just like building on him as it goes. He's getting larger and larger, and like he's graying out more. Like he looks like a president going through term. Like he aged like 10 years in the time that he directed the Hobbit films. So like you could tell that he was super stressed all the time, trying to wing it, trying to figure out what he's doing next. Probably, like you said, no pre-production, so they were just like every day he'd show up and be like, okay, so we're gonna do this with this today, instead of coming in and being like have a whole week planned.
Yeah, I mean that's also the problem with filming 3 films back to back. Out of one book, which is, from what I understand, about that big. So near enough 3-hour films about a book like that, and like that. I would be stressed. I would have ended up. I would be going all grey, and I would end up being like Peter Jackson if that was the case. To be fair, so I can understand where he's coming from and all that.
Well, do we think then? Just kind of the other thing I wanted to talk about was. Do you think that we'd have to get permission, not we, but like studios would have to get permission from the Tolkien family basically to make any more movies? And I don't know if you guys are familiar, but the Tolkien family is not too happy with how the movies have gone, or been adapted, so they're not really on board with doing more movies at this point, but they have to get their permission to make, like, I don't know, like some of the stories from the Silmarillion or some other stories. But do you think that they'll try to at least legally try to get this rebooted, or more stories from Middle-earth?
I can't imagine why not. I mean, just look at Star Wars. I mean, granted, it's different. There's no Star Wars books. I mean, there are, but they're not. It's not like George Lucas had this holy set of books that he wrote, and they're stemming from that. It's a little different, but I would assume they could probably figure something out and just buy the characters and then maybe work their way from there.
Maybe do like a different setting, not Middle-earth, but call things different, and so they're sort of in Middle-earth, but they're not in it.
Right, or you just, it's just how much do you want for Sauron? We can work from there. Just sign over Sauron, and we'll work from there.
It's like NBA contracts. We'll give you $20 million for 4 years for Sauron.
Right. Especially if it's something like what Disney did with Star Wars. It really is a property that could be expanded on. I'm certain of it.
I don't think Warner Brothers are in any need to do it, because they got like this whole DC thing popping out. They look like they're somewhat revitalizing the Harry Potter name by bringing back this Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I don't think that's on their mind to be making more Middle-earth films, nor do I think they need to be thinking that. I think, like, it's done, let it be. We've done all we can with what Tolkien's done. We've done The Lord of the Rings, we've done 3 Hobbit films, which is more than needed, I think, in terms of, like, what Tolkien intended. Unless if you do, like, a remake of the animated Rankin and Bass one, I don't know, but I mean... like, I don't think they need to, nor do I think they will, because I mean they've literally done all they can with it. If they do any more with it, they're not hiding how they want money anymore. In all honesty, they're not hiding it. It's like, oh, we got a film about no, that would actually be kind of cool. I was going to say about Smeagol, that would be kind of cool.
They have an emoji movie coming out.
Like I was just about like, if we do it, I was like, actually that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But it's like, would it be fair if they still did that? I'd be like, that'd be cool. But really, I'm still buying a ticket for it. But really,
you're exploiting me. But I really dig this.
Yeah, it's like,
take my money. Take my money.
It's like, have you got Andy Serkis? Yeah, okay, that's cool then.
Yeah. Or even if Peter Jackson was attached somehow, and
exec producer.
Right, and give him his 11 hours to work with, and just go ahead, take your time. You have 11 episodes. You can do your little crazy cliffhangers if you want.
Yeah, and no one be annoyed about it.
Right.
Yeah, I
Do
mean,
it.
that's something I hadn't thought about. I didn't think about maybe a Netflix or a Hulu.
Yeah,
HBO or something. Yeah, do HBO. Get it all R-rated.
There you go. It'd be competing with, definitely
I
be
was gonna say, I
competing
was gonna say
against Game
that.
of Thrones.
I was gonna say that'll be like a competition between George R. R. Martin and J.R. Tolkien.
The RRs, huh? Get the RRs.
J.R.
then,
the R's.
Netflix needs it more then to compete
Yeah,
with
yeah.
HBO.
Plus, if you do a cliffhanger, you give people the option to go straight to it.
Yeah.
Without,
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
It starts in 20 seconds and then not 12 months.
it's got a lock on it. It's like, wait 20 seconds. Okay, go for it now. Just for that bit of a cliffhanger. No, I think if they do something else, not a film, because I mean was it last year they released Shadow of Mordor, the video game?
Yeah, I still play that.
Which, from what I've heard, was pretty good. Like it was pretty decent from what I've heard. So I mean, like you can expand, you can do a video game universe if you want. That I know that would be popular amongst many people. Like,
Yeah.
Or you can make a movie off Shadow of Mordor, even though it's based, but like loosely based off the storyline.
Yeah, you can do a whole thing where you make a video game series and then you can do a film series about that. Yeah, you have even more to go off. It's a good old time. I think what would really help the series if they do continue making more films or stuff like that is get different directors in, because I do think like when directors who start off something, when they keep doing something, it can be good, but when they have so much control, it ends up becoming more of like an ego project for them, being like, see, I can still do this.
Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3. Oh my god.
Prequel trilogy. It's like if a director has hold of something for too long, then it gets a bit too like, I'm still as good as I was back in the day. If you got someone like Guillermo, or heck, even someone like the Scott Derrickson who did Sinister or something like that, or even like I don't know, like one like Alfonso Cuarón, like he would be good or something like that. Like I mean,
do it like the Star Wars original trilogy. They had George Lucas and they had 2 other directors for the other two movies.
And that's what they're doing with this new one as well. So it works.
You have a really good point there too. You know, when these directors work with, especially like Peter Jackson and Lucas with I kept thinking Lucas with the prequels. Everything you were saying, I'm just Lucas. The problem is they get to a point where people don't tell them if something looks bad. I don't know if it's because they're afraid that they might get fired or what. But when people get to a certain height, you kind of need someone to say, hey, no, this is stupid, or no, just they need to hear the word no, and I think that once they reach a certain point, that word just doesn't get uttered to them anymore. And when you keep, flipping it and getting new directors, the one thing I thought when I saw the Star Wars trailer was, holy shit, the camera's moving. This is so strange.
It's not 2 people walking.
Yeah. The camera moved, and it wasn't the people. It wasn't a hallway. Oh my God! Holy!
It's like it's actually there. It's actually
They're touching the scene.
Yeah. It's casting a shadow. That thing.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. That was the parallels between George Lucas and Peter Jackson now. Not just not the prequels and the movies like that, but their own careers in regards to starting out as directors, trying to make their own in their first trilogy, making really great epic movies, and then getting to the point where they get to go back what made them legends and getting a big backlash from most. Not Peter Jackson didn't get as bad as George Lucas, but he's still got a good backlash from people. So I definitely see those parallels, and like you're saying, CP, the yes men are gone. So everybody's like, oh yeah, Peter, that looks good. Yeah, George, that looks great. Nobody's saying anything, and so everything's getting onto the movie.
Right. Yeah, whatever you think, because it worked the other time, so sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people are like, well, you seem to do it all right the last time. I guess I can't see it now, but maybe it looks good when it's cut together. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. Hey, just how about one take this way? Not no, but just try it this way.
And we'll go back and see.
Yeah.
Let's get one more take, not because it was bad, just to do it. Maybe you can say it this way.
For the extra Blu-ray, you know, just for the
maybe we can get another extended Blu-ray out of this.
The quirky edition.
The quirky edition.
Well, guys, I don't want to make it seem like we're completely bashing, but we're all going to come close to finishing this up. So let's finish up here and say some of the good things that we did like about the trilogy, things that Peter Jackson did, things we saw in the trilogy. So, CP, what did you like about the?
I really feel terrible if it comes off that I was bashing, because it is, and to be honest, I prefer a, you know, it's not that I prefer, more often than not, I like going in and going out with a movie. I don't want to invest too much of my emotions, too much of my time. So I actually prefer the Hobbit series. It moves well. The comparison to the Hobbit trilogy to the Star Wars prequel trilogy, that's insanity.
Ludicrous.
It may be a step down for Peter Jackson, but oh my God, it's still so very, very good. I mean, there are people making tons of YouTube videos on why The Hobbit's the worst thing ever. It's when the world is that great. I mean, here we are, we're talking about it. It's you know. It's just more of the same. It's like Oscar said, a B plus, and that's shit. I got D's in high school, so a B plus.
look where you are now. You're doing just fine.
It's fine. They're really fine, and I would honestly, if they could find a way to do more, or give us more of the same, or shit, redo it and take your time this time. I love the world. I absolutely love the world, and I welcome any sort of new anything that has to do with it.
Nice. Oscar, what do you think? What are some of your happy thoughts on the trilogy?
Well, I mean, I love Howard Shore as a composer anyway, and just his Hobbit score is just it's easily just music at it's fantasy music at its finest, whether it be The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. I do think that, like, if anyone discredits a film, they cannot discredit Howard Shore's score. And I do really like, as I mentioned, the brotherhood element of all the dwarfs and Bilbo. I'm a sucker for like if you're gonna do like 3 odd films, I'm a sucker for like bromances growing amongst it, and like it all come to a big like ordeal and towards the end. And I love the whole thing between Bilbo and Thorin, because they are from 2 different worlds, but they have got something in common in terms like Bilbo wants to prove himself as something more as just this shy little hobbit, and Thorin wants to prove himself as like a true king or whatever like that. Like they both have something similar, and I do think when it comes to the end of their story, it really does, like, you really feel all of the other films just like come together, and it just feels like it does feel like you have been with these guys for so long. And that, I mean, I just love that element of those films personally. I mean, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch's Smaug, I just think is just like, I mean, I'm a sucker for Cumberbatch anyway, but I mean, make him a voice as a dragon, I'm fine with it as well. Like it's really cool, menacing, but it's like a dragon who outsmarts everyone. How is that not frightening?
Another thing about Bilbo and Thorin is they had those parallels, you know, but they were both flawed, and they both had these journeys that, I mean, granted, you know, one went a little bit further than the other, but it's script writing 101. The character's he's got to have an arc, and they were really, really interesting characters, and their struggles were impressive.
Yeah, and I totally agree with both of you, and I think that's one thing a lot of people overlook when they are bashing the Hobbit trilogies. They're bashing like the CGI, or maybe some lazy shots that we were talking about earlier that are due to Peter Jackson not having enough time to maybe shoot the right shot. but the music, the acting, the arcs, like you guys are talking about, these are things that are prevalent in this movie that, you know, yes, we get to see that in Lord of the Rings, but like you said, it's a little bit more cohesive in this one, whereas there's so many different characters we have to kind of keep in touch with in Lord of the Rings, whereas this one we have this one group that we know, the Brotherhood of the Dwarves, and also between Bilbo and Thorin, so seeing those clearly and finally having a conclusion, you know, that really, it's really what made me like the movies. Obviously, we complain about the CGI and things, but the storyline and the atmosphere, people overlook that every time, I think.
The story's still great. In the end, you're being told a story, so if the story's good, you can look past a lot if the story is good. And
what makes a film stand the test of time is great characters, great characters, great acting, and a great story, not good CGI, not good technical stuff. We don't look at an old Charlie Chaplin film and go like, well, that effect wasn't up to par as compared to Avengers. Yeah, because we expect that. No, what stands up the test of time is the characters, and these do have great characters. And I honestly do think the Hobbit trilogy will be more appreciated as time goes on, where we shove past all our technical issues and actually look to the core of the story, which is, it's kind of a timeless type of tale just told in this Middle-earth world.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's more of a kind of a shadowing of Lord of the Rings. I always got that general greed. It was always greed that seemed to be this cloud that hung over a lot of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, they're doing it slightly different, but it's still enough that it's different. It's similar but different.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it's like they are films that they do feel like their own trilogy. Like, I could have just completely ignored Lord of the Rings and just watched these, and I think I would have been fine. But they do a good job at also having the feel of Lord of the Rings as well at points as well. It's not completely separate, but it's not completely together where you feel like watching a film and be like, oh, I guess I would appreciate this more if I knew Lord of the Rings. I feel like because it's a simple enough story that anyone can really be involved in it. It's a very, I mean, it is a fairy tale in a sense. It is like a classic. It is almost like Grimm Brothers. I mean, Tolkien is, you know, that type of writer and everything like that. So I mean, it is a good story that is pretty universal, that it can just be watched as its own. But I mean, as I said, if you want to watch it, be like, I want to know what it's like to be back in Middle Earth. It's good that way as well.
Right. The only thing I would say that you probably get robbed of if you only watch The Hobbit is Smeagol.
Yes.
I love his everything in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's probably the only thing that I'd be like, oh well, you're missing out on that.
Yeah.
Probably other things, but
yeah, that's the only thing that you can't have too much to complain about, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, because he's in both, and he pretty much is the same in both, I guess.
Yeah, that goes to show that you can be satisfied without having to have all the extra characters we had in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, right.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of characters in Hobbit with the dwarves, but it's a little more focused, I think. Yeah, Legolas, yes. Well, guys, that was about everything that I wanted to go over, unless you had anything else you want to go over in regards to the Hobbit trilogy. But at this point, what I want to do is just tell you guys thanks for coming on. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you guys online. CP, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you.
Hi. Hi. You've been with me for an hour. Hello. I'm CP. On Instagram, I'm CP of Willy Reviews, WILI Reviews. My YouTube channel, Will I Like It Reviews. I do a lot of weird shit now. It's just a lot of.
We're all branching out, right? We're all branching out some way.
I mean, you look around enough, you'll see me somewhere. That's really it.
Nice.
Thank you for having me, Carlos. Thank you so much. I love I would love to just talk about stuff. I don't want to compete.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about stuff. This is so much fun. Thank you for sharing this opportunity with me. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll definitely be doing more of these, so I'm going to have you guys on again for sure. Oscar, where can everybody find you?
Well, yeah, first of all, thank you for having me on here. As much as I do have fun with the competitive stuff as well, it is nice to just sit back and just talk film, which I mean, you know, is my #1 passion, just talking film. But you can find me, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's Oscar_XIII, Roman numeral for 13. And, you know, on YouTube, you can go on to youtube.com/heelpictures. You can check out the normal reviews that we do. You can check out like the podcasts that we do and whatnot. We have a varied amount of stuff, but also check out the scripted short films that are on there. We are trying to go more forward with that. We're slowly getting in production with our major project, which is called VHS Pirates Season 2. The first season is fully on there. Check it out. I would really appreciate if people watch that, because we had a lot of fun making it, and a lot of people seem to enjoy it. And we're going to be doing a lot more short film stuff as well, which is why I have a lot of fun doing, and just a lot more of the wild and crazy stuff. And yeah, so check out Heel Pictures, where you can not only see me, but also a load of people's different opinions. Recently, we just uploaded a second Steve Jobs review with the two guys giving their opinion. So yeah, check myself out. I went on a little bit there, but I like to get everything out in one.
Awesome.
So.
No,
So,
that
yeah,
sounds
thank you.
awesome. Yeah, hopefully everybody will go over there and check that out. Check out that new series you got, the short films coming out. As for myself, you can find me at Circus of Time Review on YouTube. Find me at Twitter at Circus of Time, Instagram Circus of Time Pics. I have a SoundCloud that I upload some podcasts, and I mess around with guitar. So if you want to hear some rip-off David Gilmour, go on there as well. But we'll definitely be doing more of these podcasts. I love the Star Wars one I did last week, and the Hobbit one has gone pretty well. So I want to keep doing these to get you guys on again for another episode. Probably doing, I think, upcoming episodes, maybe doing like a Halo movie franchise that hasn't come out yet, Marvel versus DC, Hollywood Bad Habits, things like that is sort of the upcoming episodes we're looking to do. So I just want to thank everybody who's watching live or is watching after the fact. Thanks for tuning in. Follow me on Twitter if you want to find out when the next episode is. It'll be next week. I'll be sending out updates as well. So thanks for watching, and be excellent to each other.